They say we're the purest the day we're born, because we're unaffected by the outside world. And from a very early age, we learn we can gain happiness from material things. But as we grow older, we develop a void within our heart. So we try to fill this void with things like the car we drive, the clothes we wear, and even the cell phone we use. But eventually that void returns. My name is Joe Baxter. I'm your average everyday guy. I'm a father, a husband, and a social worker. And so many people strive their whole lives to find peace and happiness. But sadly, many never find it. So I'm going into the wilderness for a week by myself to film my own process of finding inner peace. I met with several experts to help guide me along through my journey, and I intend to use their wisdom, guidance, and experience to access inner peace. At this point, the hardest thing is saying goodbye to my wife and 2 children for a week without having any contact with them. But if I could return a better man or inspire others to live life with peace, it will be worth it.
Known Joey for 32 years of my life, I'd have to say this is the most courageous thing he's done out of the many things that he's done in his life. He's a father, he's a husband, he's my best friend, and I think this adventure that lies in front of him is going to be life-changing in many ways, but also just a test of who he is, and allow him the ability to look inside himself, and I think that's a big part of why he's doing it. You know, to be able to walk away from his family, which he loves, and his wife is tremendously difficult for him. Project symbolizes so much for him, and in discovering that inner peace and that wholeness which I think he's looking for as he embarks on this adventure is so powerful. And I think we can all learn a little bit from what he's doing by, you know, escaping from just everyday life. The sun is out.
just taking a quick break because I am tired. I have 100 pounds of gear between camera equipment and camping equipment, and it is killing me right now.
You know, to be without human interaction, you know, for 7 days, I have a tough time imagining, you know, being without human interaction for a few hours. And somebody who's dedicated his life to that exact thing, you know, being a social worker, helping families, working with children. Human interaction is everything that Joey lives for and thrives on. And now to go out on his own, to be solo in the wilderness and kind of test some of the theories which I think he's been working on is an amazing endeavor.
That's it.
No, I wish him luck, and I know it's going to be a tremendous experience for him and those of us who get to see what he captures and what he learns from this experience. So, good luck, Joe, and we can't wait to see you back home and hear about your adventure.
Here I am at the campsite. Where I'm going to spend the next 7 days finding peace. After hiking over 6 miles up 3,500 feet, the first thing I had to do was set up my camp. I brought everything I needed to survive for the week, including food, water, and camping supplies. I didn't bring any music, reading material, or even pictures of my family. I don't want my mind thinking about anything else other than the process of finding inner peace. There. I'll show you what I did. I'm not an actor or anything like that, and I'm kind of uncomfortable talking to the camera, so basically, well, here's what I did. I tell my daughter that anything that has eyes should have a name, so I'm gonna name him Bob for right now. A little bit easier talking to a face than to a camera, I think. I want to do a movie that has some purpose to it, that it can inspire or motivate people to do something more with their lives, or just to, you know, even take a step back and look a little bit deeper at their lives. One of the hardest things about this whole process is leaving my wife and kids for a week without talking to them. It's probably one of the most emotionally challenging things I think that I've ever done in my life. But I think that I need to separate myself from everybody and everything in order to find out more about myself and how I can take that information back to the everyday real world and I guess be a better person. And so through my relationship with God, I'm going to be looking deep within my own heart to find out who I am. But over the course of this week, I'm going to try to find that out. I'm going to try to access or take steps towards accessing inner peace. I'll tell you, it was a really tough day today. Now, hike was unbelievable. It was one of the just the most physical, demanding things I think that I've ever done in my life. But I think I got a good sight. I think I'm settled in now, and I'm ready to start this journey. Right now, actually, what I'm going to be doing is every night writing in a journal just about my experiences and what I've done so far. My thoughts, I guess. So, I guess I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Inner peace is balance. Balance with everyone, everything. There's no exclusion in yoga. Yoga means union. Inner peace is union with not only the divine, but everybody else who cuts you off during the day or may have done you wrong. You really have to let all that go to find inner peace. So the physical state, the rajistic state, is one state of being. So we'll look at that. We'll say, okay, that person's working out real hard, hour and a half, boom, meditation on the mat, no problems, peace. Another state is the other person just sits down, fat and heavy, been sitting down his whole life, but found peace that way. That's a Thomistic state. And then the state we're talking about today, we're trying to get to understand what enlightenment is, what peace is. That's Sattvic state. So you watch the states happening, and you go on from there. You really have to transcend these three states. Most people say yoga is not a religion, it's a science of all religions. I disagree, because yoga works for me. Yoga is my religion. If I don't practice, I don't have peace. Church and God in the normal sense is very important also. But I can't have one without the other as far as peace goes.
After breakfast, I'm going to try some yoga. It's taken me over a half an hour to make a cup of coffee in this cold. And it's just lukewarm. Yoga is an ancient physical and spiritual discipline, as well as a stem of philosophy that originated in India. It is believed that the first yoga practices began more than 5,000 years ago. The word yoga is translated to mean union or unite, to join all aspects of the individual. Yoga uses physical postures, focused concentration on specific body parts, and breathing techniques to integrate the whole human entity, the body with the mind, and the mind with the soul, to achieve a happy, balanced, and useful life. There are thousands of different yoga poses. These poses focus the effort necessary to move energy up and down the spine, movement to hold energy or concentrate awareness, and the technique of holding muscular contractions to focus awareness. Along with the poses, it is believed that specifically controlled breathing will control the energy flow in your body. The ultimate goal of yoga is to reach emancipation or ultimate freedom. I just finished doing some yoga moves. I wanted to do it this morning at sunrise, but it was just too cold, freezing cold this morning. My water was frozen. Doing the yoga, for me, it was, I actually broke out in a little bit of a sweat. And it's not like it's that physical activity as far as, cardiovascular or something like that, but just holding the poses and doing those stretches, does get your body going. I'm not good at it right now. I've only done it maybe 1 or 2 times in my entire life, but at this point I have a little cheat sheet here that I got. Printed it off the internet. I would tell you what the poses are, the positions are, but They're so small on here that I can't even read them. But what I'm going to do is actually, each day I'm going to continue to try different poses and continue to try doing yoga. Lots of people believe, that they have reached a place of peace through yoga. And when I interviewed Yogi Brian, he's one of them, and he's able to obtain peace through yoga. I'm going to give it a try and see if it will work for me. Today I'm going to be doing a lot of thinking and trying to find inner peace. It's important to really do a self-assessment, to really try to think deeply about your life and about kind of some emotional baggage that you may have. And what I'm going to be doing is really just thinking a lot, basically starting at my childhood and really trying to think deeply all the way up to the present moment. That's going to be the main focus of my process for today. Right now, I really need to get a lot of firewood. I spent most of the day in deep thought. Some of my earliest memories of my parents still married and happy, of my brothers and sisters in our old neighborhood, and that Christmas when I was about 8 years old and finally said happy birthday to Jesus, and for the first time understood what Christmas was all about. The day my father moved to Florida to start his new life, or the time when we had to eat pancakes for dinner for a week, and my mother said it would give us character. The day I met my wife in a little coffee shop, and how scared I was the morning my daughter was born, and then my son, and now hoping I can show them how to become good people. I thought of people I love, people I hurt, and people who had an impact on my life.
ความรู้สึกมันก็ต้องเบาว่างโปร่งเบาสบายคือให้มีสติให้มีการเคลื่อนไหวทำมือสร้างจังหวะรู้สึกตัวนะโชว์ให้ดูก็ตัวสตินี่แหละเหมือนแสงสว่างตัวสติตัวปัญญาเหมือนแสงสว่างเมื่อเราเดินไปกลางวันไหมเห็นนั้นเห็นนี่ไม่เตะสะดุดนั้นสะดุดนี่ก็เพราะมีความสว่างมีตาดีคนมีสติปัญญาดีก็สามารถเห็นความจริงว่าอันนี้ผิดอันนี้ถูกก็หลีกเลี่ยงพ่อเทียนหลวงพ่อเทียนพูดว่ามืดสีขาวคือมันไม่เห็นความจริงมืดสีขาวก็เลยเดินไม่ถูกมันกับเมฆหมอกหรือว่าสโนว์ลงเยอะๆแล้วขับรถไปมันมืดขาวๆนะมองไม่เห็นอะไรเลยใช่ไหมความรู้สึกเลยจะเกิดความว่างความสบายความจิตมันคิดจะเห็นแวบเลย
I tried meditating first thing this morning at sunrise, but I seemed to be unable to remain still for longer than 2 to 3 minutes at a time. I feel like I have so many thoughts now racing around my head that I'm becoming distracted. After breakfast, I'm going to turn on the camera and just talk it out until I have nothing left to say.
Woo.
When we take control of our lives, we make decisions based on positive outcomes. We're not going to be a victim. We're not going to blame people for there's opportunities that everybody has in life to do good and to help people out and to do positive. It's never too late to decide what you want your life to be about. At any point, you want to change the way you live. At any point, you want to change your life story and what you want it to be about. You have to have the desire to change. A true, and at that point, I knew in my life But that was Jesus welcoming, is when you close your eyes and open your heart. There's, things that happen that you can't explain, you don't know why, but so acceptance is extremely important. I believe that people get misguided. People get raised from experiences and they learn and look at the world through those experiences. To help those people see life for what. There's opportunities that present themselves to us every single day in our life. How we respond to those opportunities, help shape how we feel. I think if you have awareness, if you have an idea of where you want to go in your life, who you want to be, and what you want your life story to be, that's going to shape, who you become and who you are as a person. The way we look at life helps shape the way our life is. I need to forgive myself for lots of things. We need to understand ourselves in order to move forward. We need to break down the walls. I guess that's all I'm going to talk about for right now. I just wanted to give a quick update on how things are going so far. The camping side of things are going fine. It's actually pretty easy, other than the fact of not really being able to cook a good hot meal and sleeping. My tent is like on a decline like this with my head over here. Other than that, the camping side is pretty good. It's easy. The finding peace part of things is difficult. It's not an easy process. I'm forcing myself to kind of think of things, that I haven't thought of in a long time, to try things that I've never tried before, like yoga or meditation. And I guess, I keep going back to prayer. That at this point maybe seems the most comfortable for me. The hardest thing right now is, I miss my family. That's the emotional part. The hardest emotional part of this is that I really miss my wife and I have a 4.5-year-old little girl and a 6-month-old boy, and I miss them a lot.
Like yoga, meditation dates back to ancient times. There are many different meditation techniques practiced around the world. With the guidance of Buddhist monk Akan Da Samakato, I learned about the Mahasati meditation. This meditation practice is based on the movement of the body to generate self-awareness. Developing awareness can lead us to see things inside ourselves usually latent or hidden. Once awareness is established by concentrating on the breath or movements, the next step is called vipassana, or insight. This is the source of wisdom. It's through clearly seeing, in a non-judgmental way, the actions of our mind in the present moment, that our perceptions of ourselves and the world is changed, and we become able to lay down the burden of suffering that we've been carrying around. We become able to quiet our mind so our heart's true intentions can be known.
Need to actually start conserving water here. I think I've been drinking a little bit too much, a little bit more than I have hoped to at this point. I'm going to need a lot more water for the rest of this, so I got to cut back.
Day 3, October 20th. The process of finding inner peace may be different for everyone. It has to be personal, and there has to be an honest desire to change the way you look at the world. Through meditation, I've been able to start slowing my mind down, and I become aware of things about myself I didn't realize. To be able to see clearly without distractions or misinformation is amazing. Today started out rocky, but I was eventually able to remain still for about 20 to 30 minutes at a time while I was meditating. With time, I expect to continue to make progress. I've been getting emotional out here. I'm really starting to miss my family. These 3 birds keep coming by my campsite every now and then. I can't help to think of my wife and 2 kids checking in on me. I actually started to talk to them, and they're keeping me company. The loneliness is definitely beginning to set in. Besides these 3 birds and a small squirrel, I haven't even seen any other animals, although my campsite does have bear poop all around it. The weather here is strange, too. During the day it seems to warm up, but as the sun goes down, the mountain retains little heat, and it gets very cold. There's one thing for sure. Forgiveness is the key to peace. Without forgiveness, holding on to grudges, pain, anger, you can't get closer to peace without forgiveness. I could forgive myself tonight, today, for the things that I remembered or the things I've been holding on to. I need to forgive. I'm definitely running low on water. I think I'm gonna go do it. I think I'm gonna go look for the spring tomorrow, because I don't know if I'm gonna have enough to finish out the rest of the day, the rest of the week, and I think the ending of the week is supposed to be raining. So I'll pack up a little bag and head out. Good night.
I think inner peace for me is when there is a right relationship with God, His creation, and His intentions for our lives. That when we are in order with what God's will is for our life, somehow our spirit is calibrated to the God who created us. Now that to me is the most basic inner peace. I believe that there is literally a spiritual hole inside of our hearts. And again, some of these terms we use it, the physical heart or the spiritual heart, but inside of us there's a hole. I believe mankind seeks to fill that in a lot of different ways. That's why so many people are dissatisfied. If God cared this much for me, and in my faith, to send His only Son to die for me, if He thinks this way of me, quite honestly, everything else is relatively not as big a deal. Start eliminating some of the noise, the critical spirit that is so often found in people around us, irrelevant stuff, media today that so much of it is just a waste of time, and start focusing on what is important. Is there a God? If there is a God, then how has God revealed Himself to me? Now for me, He revealed Himself through Jesus Christ. That opened the door to my faith in Christ, but then that opened the door to a lifelong process of letting Him grow in me and so forth. In the Bible it says, they shall know the truth, and the truth shall set them free. Truth does set us free.
All that fun with a little walking stick here. I guess the time's getting to me, and I need to pass it somehow. Can't think deeply all the time. I could definitely feel this process beginning to work. I'm not an expert at meditating by any means. Definitely not an expert at yoga, but I am praying quite a bit, and I do feel my relationship with God beginning to change. It's an amazing thing, I think. You know, if you spend all this time alone, focused on these things that are important to you, it's amazing what actually happens. Peace. I made this little diagram here to represent the three components that I believe make up the human life. You know, in a lot of health and wellness beliefs, you hear a lot about the mind, body, and spirit, and in that order. What I am representing here is something similar, but in a little bit of a different order. And the way I look at it is the outer ring here is the body. And the body is the physical vessel that carries us around and allows us to interact with the material world. The next ring I have in here, represented by rocks, is the mind. And the mind is like the interpreter of the material world. It basically takes information from the material world and tries to make sense of it based on the past experiences that a person has. And on the inside, the moss I have is the soul. And the soul is a person's true self. Their true heart's intentions. It's their life energy and their connection to God. In this order, you have to have a balance, because you can't have one without the other. Without one, none of the other ones would exist. Here's where you run into problems, is when the mind starts telling the soul wrong information, misinformation, misintentions. It takes information from an interaction that you may have with a person and interprets that in a way based on a person's own beliefs and own experiences, and it tells the soul something that's not accurate. And that's why we need to be able to understand ourselves and understand our heart's intentions. Because if we do, then we're not going to be misled by our mind's interpretations of what is actually happening. And we'll have a better way of understanding people's true intentions, especially once we understand our own.
It wasn't just the fact that I was missing my family so much that I was getting emotional, but that I was doing so much deep thinking and solitude and started thinking of things that I haven't thought of in such a long time. Making things even more difficult was finding a picture that my daughter drew for me and a card my wife wrote.
My daughter made a picture of our family, put it in here. My wife, me, Emma, and Jackson. She wrote her name on them too. She said, "So we just had a sock party and laughed a whole lot, and here I am writing this on the verge of tears. I guess although I'm not the most peaceful person, peace for me is having my family around. Being a wife and a mother brings my soul completion. I hope you too see this when you are gone, that sometimes it's who or what is right there with you every day that you are at peace. With you gone, I know I will be okay. But you make it more than okay. You make life great. Please come home safe and meditate on what you have at home waiting for you. I will be struggling lots this week, still supporting your vision, but selfishly wanting you back. I sprayed this card with anti-beer mist and think that this
combined with your camping skills should keep you safe. Thinking of you. Just wanted to let you know all the love, Lisa.
It was time for me to go look for the spring. It's about 2.5 miles down the path and another half mile into the forest. I'm leaving a little later than I anticipated, but I feel like I really have to get out of this camp for a while. I hate to admit it, but it looks like I'm lost. I'm just kind of like in through this thick forest here, trying to make my way even back to the path. I guess there's only one way to go when you're lost on the mountain, and that's down. So I'm going to be looking for ways to get down or back to the path. I don't know exactly what happened, but I should, if I keep going in this direction, I should eventually get to the path. So. Just really, really dense, and I really have no idea really at this point which way I'm going. I haven't filmed in a while because I've been freaking out. I'm still lost. If the sun is about to go down, I think I probably have about a half an hour, 45 minutes. I've just been walking and walking through this really dense forest. At this point, I gave up looking for the spring, and I was getting concerned for my safety. I knew I had to find some kind of shelter. But all I kept thinking about was this man in Oregon who left his stranded family to find help and died of hypothermia. I finally came across this little cave. I decided to check it out to make sure there were no animals inside.
Go check it out. I don't know how well you could see it, but here's where I'm about to sleep. I can't believe that I'm doing this right now. Getting off that path was probably one of the stupidest things that I've done in a long time. I just keep thinking my wife's gonna kill me.
freezing now. Put the warm packs against my chest. They're definitely helping now, but this mountain, anytime as soon as the sun goes down, it just starts getting freezing cold.
As something occurs that may not be preferable, there really may be something extremely relevant in that occurrence. And rather than putting up a wall, when we stay in the place of acceptance, that place of being with what's occurring, rather than feeling disconnected to what's occurring. Oh my goodness, this is happening to me. No, this is happening. There's something about it. I'm staying in the place of acceptance. And I may or may not even come to clarity about why. I don't need to. I simply need to be with it. And when we're not in the place of acceptance, we're closing down that corridor, and we lose that experience of inner peace so quickly because we got in the way.
It's light enough for me to go out and try to continue to find my way. It wasn't actually as cold as I thought it was going to be. I ended up putting on this rain shell, which helped out also. But those heating pads, worked great. My feet are freezing, but everything else is not so bad.
After my initial panic, I ended up going between prayer and meditation for most of the night, until I eventually fell asleep. As it turned out, I wasn't actually that far from my campsite. I ended up hiking back through this really dense forest and never actually got back onto the trail until I was right near my campsite. I got to a point where I was thinking maybe I passed my campsite, and if I kept going in that direction, I would end up getting further away. So that's when I decided to find a shelter. I was just glad to be back at my campsite.
My wife gave me this compass before I left for my trip. It was her grandfather's, probably from Cub Scouts or something. It's very old. She said, don't get lost and don't lose this. It's very sentimental to her. I have, experienced fear, frustration, anger at myself, and then somewhere in that cave, something happened. I changed, and I felt like I just let it go. I just let it be.
I didn't talk to the camera much over my last few days as I started to internalize much of what I've been experiencing. Last night was difficult, but I actually think I learned a lot. I don't believe there are any accidents in the world. I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. Although I may never know what the reason is, that's all right. I read a quote the other day that said something like, "We are provided with everything that we need, exactly when we need it. We just have to have our hearts open enough to see it."
I started to feel more comfortable doing yoga. It's true that when you're relaxed, the poses become much easier. I've been able to reach a higher level of awareness while I'm doing the poses, and I gained a better understanding of the relationship between my mind and body. I continue to meditate every day, and I've gained a better ability for mindfulness. I don't believe I've been able to experience true enlightenment during this journey, as this can be a lifelong process. What I've found to be amazing is how much the meditation has increased my ability to pray with such connection to God. God has revealed himself to me as Jesus, and my relationship with him has become much stronger since this experience.
For me, it felt like an absolute surrender of this struggle to achieve and to find and whatever. It's a knowing that I have now discovered the most important element of human existence. That does not take away my ambition, that does not take away my drive, doesn't take away my desire to engage in relationship. What it does is it puts it into a perspective that allows me less stress.
เมื่อจิตเราว่างเราก็คิดอะไรก็ออกคิดอะไรก็ได้คิดอะไรก็เป็นจิตว่าง
It comes from our core. It's something that flows out through the heart. We feel it in our chest area, in our belly area, and it's obviously associated with an ease and a tranquility and a serenity.
It's a hard world to find peace today because there's so many distractions. There's so many ways to get information and pull you out of yourself. You really have to renounce the world to the right amount. But if you could do it today in Fairfield County, in New York City, it's much easier than going into the Himalayas, because the object is to find that balance, to be able to find peace in this world and still exist within it and everybody else.
I said it before and I'll say it again. I've said it plenty of times. It's never too late to decide what you want your life to be about. I'm not really much of a poet. In fact, I never really wrote a poem in my life. But I decided to spend my last full day here just putting down some of my thoughts into a perspective. So I wrote this poem I entitled Truth. Scattered, we walk alone, through the fields where we battle ourselves, beating our hearts until there's nothing left but fear. Alone, we wait for something better, someone to fill us with purpose. We search from faceless person to faceless person, but we receive no true answers, only dissonance. Slowly, we quiet our mind so our heart can be heard. A voice becomes amplified and clear from within our soul. It is the voice of enlightenment and the presence of divine energy. In this moment, our eyes open wide for the first time. We have become aware of the truth. Now, in the grace of God, we walk in the fields together with love and peace. I think I got what I was looking for, and I think I found it in my family, and I need to go back to them right now. I think that's what it all comes down to, is the love that you have for your family, the love that you have for other people. Taking a step back to realize that is an amazing thing, and I'm glad I did it. I definitely feel closer to God I definitely feel like I have a foundation to build on, to be living a more peaceful life going forward. And I'm glad I had this experience. What an experience it has been. I guess that's about it.
This week has been a journey of extreme emotion, insight, and revelation. What I realized is that you don't have to be alone or on top of a mountain to discover or experience peace. Peace comes from within our heart. It's not a state of mind, but a way of being. It's a love for ourselves and acceptance of who we are. It's a direct connection to God. But probably the most important thing I learned is to enjoy every moment that is presented to you. Let go of the pain and anger of the past and stop worrying about what might happen in the future. Look around you and be aware of all the people that you love in your life and let them know it. Take some time to slow down your mind and listen to your heart. And when you say goodbye to someone, say peace be with you. There's no better way to part.
Men, you've gotta be strong. Don't give in to anger when it is only fear that consumes your head. Men, beware of your mind and the rage that holds you back and tears your life apart until the day you die. It is so much easier to let it all go, to be strong for yourself on your own. This is your life, and well, honesty is painful. Freedom only comes when you give up the lies. Forgiveness in yourself leads to rebuilding bridges to a greener other side. And the hope in your heart is the blood that gives you life. Yes, I am truly on my own now. And this is my life, and well, honesty's been painful, but freedom only came when I gave up the lies. Forgiveness in yourself leads to rebuilding bridges to a greener other side. And the hope in your heart is the blood